Large amount of content in the background as soon as it is turned on. This is a heavy industrial factory that was in operation in the 20th century. Recently, in my opinion, it is precisely these heart monsters that are unable to decrease in size and always remain full that are the true nightmares, i.e., Energy and AID will be released by A in 2025. Extremely dissatisfied. Just a cursory understanding. The beginning of the latest report from the night. In 2024, global data centers are expected to consume approximately 460 terawatt-hours of electricity. By 2030, this figure will also return to be close to 1,000 watt-hours. What does a terawatt mean? It's almost as if we had created something out of thin air within a few years. Of course, the electricity demand of a country the size of Japan or Germany is even more worrying. He also pointed out that in the United States, the growth rate of elevator demand will increase in the coming years. Data centers may contribute nearly half. The power is out. The operating costs of these technology companies. He began to transform into a national-level infrastructure for applications. Constraint. When it comes to this point, the first reaction of many people must be, then let's build a power plant. As long as there is a demand, Japan. If it were that simple, Wall Street wouldn't. The biggest problem is actually not the lack of computers. After breaking up, completely different demands. During its development, car has been moving at an extremely fast pace. Model iteration is calculated on a monthly basis. The server update cycle is 18 to 24 months. It can be implemented in data centers within 12 to 24 months. But the rhythm on this side of the power grid is extremely slow. Substations, power lines, transformers, as well as lengthy environmental impact assessments and grid connection approvals. If any link gets stuck, cycle. It is common for the construction of a high-voltage power line in the United States to take 5 to 7 years. The most typical data actually comes from the grid interconnection network of the United States, namely the interconnection queue. Everyone can come and take a look at this picture. According to statistics from Arts Berkeley National Laboratory, as of the end of 2024, there are still numerous power generation and energy storage projects in the queue for grid connection, the United States. The corresponding installed capacity is approximately 1.4 terawatts. This indicates that it's not that people don't want to see the power plant, but that the project is stuck at the gate and can't get in. So you will see the most jaundiced reality of the AI era has built a chin factory. The clip doesn't work. This is the most fundamental and structural contradiction of today. At this point, I must be honest. If we only look at the period from 2025 to 2030, the situation will resolve issue within this time frame. When it comes to power solutions, the most practical and feasible option is indeed natural gas. The reason is not complicated. Then, the 7-level Basic Support Construction Center will take 2 to 4 years to complete. And it can provide the kind that AI needs most, available for dispatch 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Electric power. In many data centers, natural gas is not the optimal solution. Rather, it is the only feasible solution that can be delivered on time. This is also why you see more and more distributors creating backup systems and even finding ways to bypass congested phone lines. The problem is equally obvious. It's not a matter of whether it's then or not. It's a matter of whether it's too late to solve. For a long time, he has been hindered by various factors and influenced by geopolitics, facing increasingly clear constraints. More importantly, for the AI data center, we're entirely on fossil fuels to power the energy future is a critical issue. It is inherently unstable. So what you see now is not that natural gas has outperformed power. Natural gas is buying time for this system. During this period, what the institution truly cared about was the next step. Is there an energy source that can provide stable electricity 24/7, is not dependent on fluctuations in fuel prices, and can exist for a long time? It is precisely on this issue that nuclear power has been brought back to the table. If it is a direct takeover in the AI era, then nuclear power would be the long-term goal the institution is pursuing. At this point, many people's minds have already come up with a very reasonable question. It's very simple. Just ask the shipping company to build several more nuclear power plants. Wouldn't that be great? Aren't all these present, such as the utilities and Southern Power? Why bother with anything else? I'm okay. You have to look at this stuff. It actually shows that your logic is correct. But the question is, can this plan be worked out to paper? But in the real world, nuclear power plants are not places you can visit whenever you want. We need to make one thing clear first. The problems with traditional large-scale nuclear power plants have always been due to insufficient technology rather than being unable to generate electricity steadily. This problem can be summed up in 3 words. Not enough time. In the 1970s and 80s, the golden age of nuclear power relied on a very special environment. The state guaranteed credits, extremely low interest, and society was willing to wait for several decades to recover the investment. Then the core of your power lies in economies of scale. The larger the reactor, the cheaper it is per kilowatt. That's why we have a P, 1,000 per bag. Second, these makes with a capacity of 1,000 to 1,600 megawatts. But it has almost completely failed. A large-scale nuclear power project usually takes 10 years to complete and requires capital investment of hundreds of billions of dollars. As long as the interest rate rises a little or the regulation becomes stricter a bit, your financial model will simply collapse. Units 3 and 4 are the most typical examples of the zero spirit. This project was originally scheduled to be completed by 2016 with a budget of $14 billion. It won't be released until 2023. The cost of the CNN project was completely out of control in the last 7 years. Ultimately, the total cost soared to $35 billion. In today's world where demands are changing on a monthly or even weekly basis, this painstakingly developed AI that took 10 years to create won't wait for you for another 10 years. Japan won't wait for you for 10 years either. So it's the turn of Mr. NuScale and the rest. A volleyball court. Obviously, here's a little bit of popular science. Although NuScale was very clever in generating its own stock code, SM, Tuesday, exercises. Second, actually, it's not. It is not an industry-wide English abbreviation. Small Mega Reactor. Shaoxing Mo Kuei Wa Fan Ying Dui. So, Mr. is not a group of engineers. It's typical of something that comes about through play. He is more like the entire nuclear energy industry. A self-rescue under the pressure of reality. If we were to summarize the core idea of the paper in one sentence, it would be: stop treating nuclear power plants as buildings. Instead, view them as products. You can think of it this way first. Conventional nuclear power. To put it bluntly, it's actually a huge civil engineering project. All the reinforced concrete pipes are on the construction site. Little by little, it builds up, because the terrain, environment, and construction conditions of each power station are different. So almost every one of them is a custom-made model. This leads to an unsolvable vicious circle. Progress is hard to control, and cost is even harder to control. What I want to do is to completely reverse this logic. He didn't want to dawdle any longer but moved all the troublesome matters into the factory, in the assembly line. The products from HADCO are assembled and tested. Then they, like a large industrial machine, directly pull the entire module to the site. Click, click. It can be used as soon as it is installed. What used to be building houses has now turned into a big Lego project. Didn't do anything. It sounds very sci-fi. The new technology still uses the most regulated diving team in the world. You're amazing. Those traditional big cores are highly praised. It's exactly the same, only the size was reduced by shining a shrinking light on it. He condensed the originally huge reactor into a steel wire cylinder that was several meters wide and only 20 degrees in length. Strength. This cylinder is a standard non-accelerator, and there is something more interesting about it. NuScale, not selling an entire nuclear power plant. He sells packages. You don't have to invest tens of millions of dollars right from the start. You can first install a few modules, get them running, and the data center expands and the electricity demand increases. Oh, you call the factory again and set your mind at ease. The modules are transported to the street. Such flexibility was basically unthinkable in the previous industries in Hanoi. In terms of business model, NuScale is also very clear about its own position. He doesn't generate electricity and has no intention of being a power station owner. He is a manufacturer of high-end equipment. It is about designing and manufacturing these nuclear reactor modules, then sell it to the power company. As for how the power station will be operated in the future and whether it will be profitable, that's the buyer's concern. Having covered the company, let's now look at the notebook and address the issue at hand. In the final analysis, it all comes down to three things. The first, time for money. Traditional nuclear power is essentially a risky gamble. Choice has to be placed on the table. Hundreds of billions of dollars. Then this turned into a huge black hole of funds. This sum of money will not be exhausted in the next 8 to 10 years. If the project is just a little behind schedule, the interest will crush you. But Usser's idea is to settle this matter. We can start with a small part and let it generate and make money first. Then, using the generated cash flow, we can expand the next part. In this, the cash flow will no longer be a huge pit that lasts for a decade. Instead, it will be a series of steps on a ladder, gradually leading the threshold of nuclear power back from a level project requiring the support of the entire country to a large enterprise. One can also achieve a level by grading one's P. Second, safety. Many people are afraid of nuclear, but secondly, it's because I'm afraid of him. Space-time. The safety of traditional nuclear power relies heavily on complex systems. It's still very sufficient. Once the power is cut off, the problem of the water pump stopping will be magnified infinitely. And SM. The design concept of R is to encrust safety to laws without relying on the store, the pump, but rather of gravity and natural connection. These most fundamental laws are that hot water naturally rises and water naturally sinks. These physical laws are not subject to power outages or errors. Even in the most extreme circumstances, the reflecting end can gradually correct its flaws by relying on the power of nature. Thirdly, the traditional nuclear power plants are vested in continuous operation, like a commanding figure leading the whole group in a spread. In this fluctuating power grid environment featuring intermittent wind and solar energy, this power source that can only be fully operational all the time seems a bit inadequate. It is composed of 21 piles of modules. Yes, you can flexibly decide to operate as many modules as your actual modes require. When there is a lot of wind and solar power generation, I will operate less. When there's not enough, I'll step in. Oh, for such conditions, the calculation is done on a daily, weekly, or even seasonal basis, rather than just for 2 minutes. But at least for the first time, it's to let nuclear power have the opportunity to cooperate with the modern power grid. This kind of fluctuating rhythm, rather than always being full of group photos. This is as far as I can run. Everything sounded wonderful, but reality soon poured cold water on it. Wall Street. Even if the desired outcome doesn't come about, it's still better than having a complete failure case of the project. Here we need to first correct a misunderstanding about. Sir, the greatest of all's dangerous misunderstanding. Many people think that the next time they see something made smaller, the price should naturally decrease proportionally, right? However, in the field of Anon, the reality is exactly the opposite. Take the reformist SR as an example. Yes, indeed, her core power generation has indeed become smaller. But we can't let him generate electricity in the open air. How much should be provided to support her increasing need? Logistics can prevent Boeing aircraft from serious diseases with cement safety cells. Do we need a huge cooling water pool? Do you want it or not? When it comes to the control of security, special police forces prevention at control levels, not a single one can be spared. The problem lies right here. These expensive hard decorations will not be discounted just because your reactor gets smaller. He was trapped in an awkward financial deadlock of the machine. Your ability to operate the store has decreased, but the fixed costs for maintaining the power station remain shockingly high. So, Mr. The fight is not about electricity bills at all. To be honest, what else could he sell that might be more propsy than traditional nuclear power? What is being sold is a ticket to a table. Previously, when starting the nuclear power project, it was $10 billion US. After 10 years, 99% of the participants were discouraged continuing, and in the second year, although my price was a bit higher, I allowed you to make a lower down payment to enter. Needless to say, pow, you can get your money back even sooner. Essentially, it is about paying a premium price to obtain a low threshold and secure capital chain. This is the correct rule for survival. This logic looks perfect on the PPT, but once implemented, it reveals its true flaws. The most painful lesson is the well-known case of the out-of-state carbon-free power project. This project was originally regarded as a flagship demonstration of Yukon. As a result, 23, even the prefectural level started to fight, which completely spelled its doom. As a result, in 2023, even the prefectural lung started to fight, which completely spelled its doom. There are only 4 words for my cause of death. The accounts are in a complete mess. The cost of electricity, which had suddenly soared, defective regulatory measures, increased from the initial $58 per megawatt hour to $89. The increase exceeded 50%. The total investment has also spun out of control. It soared from the planned $6 billion to $9 billion. Look, this bill scared the customer away on the spot. This has also served as a bloody lesson for the entire industry. Just downsizing the reactor doesn't mean the business is on the right track. And apart from the issue of money, NuScale has a fundamental weakness in physics that cannot be bypassed no matter what. That is because deep down he is still a power plant that must be connected to the grid. What does this mean? This means that even if he wants to sell the store to an AI, he has no such privilege. Let's go to that interconnection queue we just mentioned, which is already jam-packed. Queue up honestly. There are already 100,000 people in the queue ahead. Oh, here comes the NuScale. It's number 10. This is extremely ironic. The NuScale, although it enables the assembly process in the factory to be faster than that in traditional nuclear power plants, is limited to this alone, as long as he still has to walk through the electric fence. This road, if it has to deal with the congestion, the upgrades, and the 7 traditional power plants have to endure. For those AI giants that are burning through money at a breakneck pace in the pharmacy industry, this theoretical speed simply cannot solve the problems in reality. So a more question emerges. If the bottleneck in power delivery is not in the reactor but in the grid itself, and the big river, are we doomed to be trapped here? While everyone was still spinning around the grid, there was an entirely different path to choose from. He asked the teacher, "How can I die of illness more quickly? Why must I be the one to die of illness?" This is the story. The starting point. The reason why this company is currently so popular is not only because its chairman is Kai-Hu, PPP, payment, Sam Altman, and even more so because he did something extremely crazy. Alcohol could theoretically be directly integrated with data from companies like Google and Microsoft. Tycoon said, "Don't queue up. Just wait for the power grid. I'll directly build the nuclear power plant right in your backyard." You heard it right. Nuclear power plants are not those huge structures emitting white smoke. Her code name is Aurora. It covers an area of less than 200 million U. It's about the size of a football field. It's a large small-scale facility, and his core reactor is even smaller. With only one such size for the restaurant, it means that it can be directly placed into the data center Colocats like a container, and